This conference will now be recorded.
We're going to call the New Richland City Council meeting for March 10th to order. Roll call, everyone is here. Do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there anything that we need to add? You have nothing? Anybody else?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve minutes of the February 10th meeting.
I'll approve the minutes of the February 10th meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, consent agenda items.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second
Second
that.
it. All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Public comments. Larry, I think you wanted to speak.
City Council, Richland. After attending the public meeting on the proposed capital project, I have an item I'd like to call out. During that engineer's presentation that night, he stated that they were calculating Boot Creek water flow capacity at a point, according to the picture, at a point between Broadway and Ash Street. They also acknowledged that the preceding culvert or bridge at Broadway has an opening of 70 square feet. These figures taken from the presentation and the first study done by Houston Engineering. 70 square feet opening and width and depth of Boot Creek at this point is what they're using to calculate their flow capacity figures for Boot Creek. Well, that would be accurate if at that point it was the end of Boot Creek in New Richland, but it is not. At the next street crossing at Ash, the culvert has an opening of only 56 square feet. That is a reduction of 20% in size opening from Broadway. Then at the next street crossing at First Street, the culvert has an opening of only 48 square feet. That is another reduction of 14% from Ash Street. Now we're up to 34% reduction. But there is also a 5-foot county main dumping into Boot Creek between Ash Street and First Street. A 5-foot main has area of 19.63 square feet. So you have an input flow of 56 square feet at Ash Street and an input flow of 19.63 at the 5-foot county main. This totals 75.63 square feet, trying to flow through a 48 square foot culvert at First Street. A 48 square foot opening is only 63% of the size of a 75.63 input flow county opening. That is a 37% reduction. Now, if you back up even further, you have a 70 square foot flow opening at Broadway coming downstream, and then add that 19.63 square feet coming from the county main, which gives you a total of 89.63 square feet of flow, trying to get through a 48 square foot opening at First Street. 48 is 53% of 89.63. In other words, you have a 47% reduction in flow capacity at First Street. Now, this following was taken off the internet Google search on water flow. An example of a reduced pipe size compared to flow rate is increasing the pipe size by 50% will not result in a 50% reduction in flow. The reduction in flow will be significantly greater due to the relationship between the pipe diameter and the flow rate being proportional to the fourth power of the diameter, meaning a smaller change in diameter leads to a much larger change in flow rate. Example of an impact size reduction. If you have a pipe diameter in half, the flow rate will be reduced by 16 times or 2 times to the north fourth power. So it's not a 50% reduction, it's 16 times. Another example of that same equation, if you have a pipe with a certain diameter that only allows 100 units flow, reducing the diameter by 50% result in a flow of only 6.25 units, not 50 units. This is all off the internet. This is basically what we have between where Houston Engineering is calculating Boot Creek water flow at this point after Broadway, adding into the equation of the input flow from the 5-foot county main entering Boot Creek after Ash Street in comparison to the size of the culvert at First Street. We have a 47% reduction culvert size at this point, which means we have roughly a flow rate of almost 16 times reduction at that point compared to the Broadway. There is also input flow from the street storm water at each street intersection that I do not see calculated in the equation of the flow. There's a lot of surface water in town that dumps into Boot Creek after Highway 13. I don't see this calculated in the equation. When Houston Engineering presented their proposal to the city council and their chambers, their representatives said they found no problems in the culverts in town. Well, how can this be? Many in town have the same concerns I have about the size of the culverts in town. I don't see how their calculations can be correct. My concern is the calculations of Boot Creek are really too high in reality. If they use overly high Boot Creek flow figures, the sizing of the diversion ditch capacity will be too low. How is it in nature, as water flows downstream, it gets larger because of increased surface area dumping into it? That is why when you go downstream, each bridge gets bigger to compensate for the increased water flow from increased surface water being added. But here in New Richland, after Highway 13, culverts get smaller going downstream, even after adding more surface water and a county tile into the system. I think residents of New Richland deserve a calculation response from Houston Engineering on this claim of theirs and the calculation of Boot Creek water flow capacity. On the next page, you will have a petition that I'm offering up to the city council here. Point A, we, the following signees of this petition, are either New Richland residents or New Richland business owners. B, we agree with Larry's question about the calculations of Boot Creek water flow. Many of us for years have had the same concerns about the bridge sizes at the end of Boot Creek. C, we have been frustrated for many years with the lack of acknowledgement from the city government that there is a water restriction at this point in Boot Creek. D, we do not believe the engineer's conclusion that there's not a problem with the culvert sizing through town. E, we demand the engineers provide their calculations made public to prove their position. F, we demand the city council, the city of New Richland, publicly acknowledge that there is a flow reduction problem in Boot Creek of New Richland. And G, we demand the city of New Richland develop a solution to this flow reduction problem and resolve this issue. Then you will have a bunch of named signatures to the petition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for public comment tonight? Okay. Requests and presentations. We have the 2025 street improvement project. Corey?
It's for me, Tony. If I disconnect, does that work? All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So tonight I've prepared a brief presentation, hopefully in regards to a requested action at the end to consider approval of the final plans and specs and authorize advertisement for bids for our 2025 street utility project. So just a brief summary timeline here. Just about a little over a year ago today here, we started the initial planning for this street and utility project. Worked our way through the end of 24. Our last action in this room here was in November, where we conducted our improvement hearing, the first of 2 required hearings for delivery of a project, as required by Chapter 429. That's our special assessment policy and the process of. So talk a little bit more about that as we work through it. Tonight is another requirement in regards to that step and process. At that November meeting, we ordered the plans and specs, and then that's what I'm presenting to you tonight in council. Since that ordering, we've had clarification on what the assessment role is going to be. That was conducted by council action in February. We held an open house here, our second open house, our final design open house on February 22nd. And then tonight is that consideration of the final plan. And then we have a couple, each of the coming subsequent months here, April and May, continued action on this project. And I'll go over that in a little greater detail. So our 2025 project area, it hasn't changed. The project that we're talking about, and hopefully it's familiar to everyone when we reference this 25 project, is the 2 blocks on Ash Street from Highway 30 to 4th Street, 2 blocks of Broadway there from 30 to 4th Street as well. The 1 block of 4th between Ash and Broadway, and then the 1 block on 3rd Street southeast from Broadway there to the dead end. And the figure before you tonight is the title sheet of the final plan. So at our open house, everything that I'm presenting here tonight is consistent with the messaging in the figures and the presentation material that is now accessible via the city website, as well as what was presented at the open house, as well as what was included in the council packet tonight. So hopefully some consistency here as we're working through this. Ash Street has been, I guess, consistent in how we proposed roadway width of 40 feet. So we're widening from that current 37.5 to a 40-foot corridor. That's your 2 12-foot drive lanes and your 2 8-foot shoulder parking lanes. On the south end of Ash, we're doing an additional 4-foot widening on the current drop-off and pickup zone south of where the school buses will stage. Sidewalk continuously on the west side. That's relatively consistent with the existing condition today, minus that very south end, bringing sidewalk then all the way down to 4th Street, where there'll be a ped ramp crossing there of Ash Ave. New utilities, new water main, a new sanitary sewer system. So a continuous system now running from the south side of Ash up to 30. It's not going to go down 4th and over to Broadway. So hopefully some efficiencies gained in that system. A storm sewer improvement, so full replacement of that. And then a 9-ton pavement design for Ash. Broadway Ave is going to go back as a 40-foot road. So we're matching existing width as what is out there today. Curbs staying in relatively the same location. Similar section as Ash Ave, so that 40 feet is divided then down to those 2 12-foot drive lanes and those 2 8-foot parking lanes. So consistent use of Broadway in the proposed as is in the existing. Sidewalk on both sides, that maybe is a change for folks that have been following us. So sidewalks being put back continuous on both sides, but matching that existing condition of at least the presence of sidewalk on both sides. New utility improvement here as well, new water main, new sanitary sewer system, storm sewer replacement of what's there today, and then a 9-ton pavement design for Broadway as well. 4th Street, roadway width is matching what's there today. It's a 31-foot road face to face. That will be going back, curb staying in the same location for 4th Street as well. Sidewalk now on the south side. For folks that is looking at this graphic, my north arrow is pointing down, so I apologize for that, but it's just how I rotated so my text would be right. So sidewalk is on the south side of 4th Street. That'd be the top hand side of the screen. 9-ton pavement design for 4th Street, just connecting those 2 corridors, Broadway and Ash. We recognize the bus traffic and the connection there, the critical connection, the only connection arguably between 4th between Broadway and Ash. New sanitary sewer system draining then back to Ash, as I alluded to, a looped water main, which is not the case today, and a new storm sewer system, really collecting it kind of more on the easterly side, but hopefully improve drainage there on 4th Street. 3rd Street then is our last project corridor. That roadway is narrowing from a 40-foot, 39 to 40-foot. It's a little variable, going to a 36-foot roadway. We are shifting the road to center it within the right-of-way. Sidewalk on the north side for this corridor. So north again is the downward portion of the screen. So that'd be on the on the downside. That's your north. Proposing to do a cul-de-sac turnaround on the east end of 3rd Street. That cul-de-sac bubble is going to match the existing road width there today, so provide that same turnaround service as what the dead-ended road there is today. New sewer and water. We have services on 3rd Street. Both of those are dead-end systems. That matches what's there today. And then a new storm sewer system to collect and improve drainage. And that's one of the values with the cul-de-sac is we can funnel drainage there at the end of 3rd and collect that in the storm sewer in lieu of how it's just draining off the road pavement today. So from tonight then, date 3/10 approved plans and specs. We as part of that action then is that approval to start the advertisement process. So there is some structure in how projects are advertised based on the cost of the project, and we are in an advertisement that requires a 3-week advertisement within the official paper and a bidding plus CDN. So this is a type of project where we're advertising to the lowest competent bidder, and so the market will kind of dictate and provide the interest in this project. So we have to make sure that it's accessible to all those that are interested. 4/10 then is our open bid date. So that's when we would actually conduct that bid opening, identify that apparent lowest responsible bidder. At the April 14th meeting, so that'll be the only meeting in April, we would present those bid results and we would then declare the project to be assessed and order that assessment hearing. That's our second mandated hearing in the 429 process. There's some notification requirements there, a mailed notification to every property to be assessed. There's some paper publication requirements. So that aligns well then to hold the assessment hearing 1 month later. So that would be held in the only May City Council meeting, that May 12th date. At that meeting, we would hold the assessment hearing, very similar to the improvement hearing, but in this time it is very specific to the assessments. And then following that hearing, council would consider adoption of that assessment roll that has been prepared and presented based on that low bid cost that we opened in April. And then there would be consideration to award the contract to that lowest responsible bidder, that bid that we opened in April. That action would be presented to council, both of those at the May 12th meeting. From then, provided those things are approved and we move forward, we enter our construction phase of project. It's been often, and we've had good success in doing a 3rd open house, a pre-construction open house, very specific to schedule. Oftentimes we have the contractor present there, really honing in on what is going to be my impact when, the best that we can predict. This project is slated for an early June construction start date. That will be contractual just to allow the school year to close. And then we will enter our intense construction for 3 months, targeting at least drivable roads by the start of school in the fall, and then a substantial completion before winter weather here at the end of this year. And then something to note is the assessment roll then is often recorded at the end of the year, and then that would then be enacted on the 2026 tax roll. So a summary. So tonight is 429. I went quick. I'm happy to cover questions as council may have. So tonight is a required action to approve those plans that the council ordered and then authorize that advertisement of bid that is laid out in that statute for chapter 429. Our project cost has been tracking consistent with our preliminary estimates. We have some contingency built in and or within and withholding that. And then the important thing is those remaining steps. So there's a lot of transparency in this process, but tonight is to move forward another step and then recognize that move forward brings back results and further discussion and evaluation by council. So the action tonight is a formal resolution that's provided in your packet. That's at R25007 to approve those plans, authorize bids, and then in there is that bid opening date that we've identified based on that required advertisement period. So I'm happy to address any questions or provide any greater details council wishes.
I got a couple on the 3rd Street. Which way is the road going to be moved, north or south?
It's moving to the south. And it's a 2-part kind of thing to be considered. So first off, the road today it's skewed. So the road center line is skewed from west to east. And then it's
What do you mean by skewed?
So it's not a consistent location within the right of way. So on the west side, It's even a little further to the north than on the east side, so it's at an angle.
Gotcha.
But the road is going to be shifted center to the right of way to the south. So we're going to have it straight west to east. It's also shifting then, and then it's narrowing. So the narrowing is being realized for the majority from north to south.
I got a dumb question probably. Where does all the water run? To the ditch?
For the 3rd Street?
Yeah.
For today, the existing condition is that today. Just it drains from west to east towards the railroad tracks and then just,
So
drains
where's it gonna run after that?
in the proposed condition, it'll drain the same way, west to east, but instead of just outletting off the roadway pavement, it'll be collected in a storm sewer system and then piped back to the west. So instead of, say that one more time? It goes like, correct, yep. It'd go to the Broadway system and then it'd be brought back north to 30.
Like all that is getting tore up, right? That road is getting tore up, I mean, Ash.
Um,
So is that a good time to maybe look at addressing?
Yeah, I was following a little bit the discussion at public comment. I think what's important to understand for our project, so we are not impacting 30. We are staying on the south side of 30. Yep, similar
Same thing.
situation. We're not going into 33, the project. Yep. So 30, the right of way, with one exception of the curb radius there on Ash and 30. But from a utility standpoint, when they did the 30 project, they stubbed out sanitary and water. So we're connecting to those stubs and we're not impacting 30. So not sure how that kind of relates to everything that you're evaluating, but our intent is to stay out of the roadway surface of 30.
I thought it was on the north side.
Sure. Yeah, Tony, if you wouldn't mind, you could go back to that Ash figure and it would show that, or Broadway even. Or yeah, you might even have it here pulled up, but you could go to the very top figure in the
So
concept.
this is
Yeah.
this is Highway 30.
Yep.
You guys are over here. It's all south of.
I got another question on your 3rd Street. How many people did you have talk to you say they did not want a sidewalk on the north side of that? 'Cause I'm hearing a lot of people say they don't want a sidewalk. And then also, can we not? I realize that digging up ground and going deep can hurt roots of trees. Can those 3-4 trees that are on the corner of Broadway and 3rd be saved and not ripped up?
Yeah, so to answer your former question, in regards to like actual specific written record, I don't know if we have any, but I think in verbal record, I believe there was a representation of all properties on 3rd Street with exception of the northeast corner of 3rd and Broadway at the open house. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of interest in the sidewalk, I would say, I guess if I'm on record, is probably noted that all 3 that were present had opposition to the sidewalk, I'm being honest.
Okay.
In regards to the trees, we did hear a significant amount of feedback about the trees, specifically the property on the south side. After the open house, I met with that property, and the plan that is being presented tonight is with an attempt to save those trees.
And if we can't save them, I'm thinking, can we get the largest tree that we can physically without hurting the roots put back in there when they put new ones in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have other provisions to do just that. So there's other tree removals on this corridor. And we've had discussions, with those property owners. There's other private tree removals that's happening due to granted easements. And we've had discussions about replacing trees. Right now, I think the intent is a 1-to-1. There's obviously some difficulty in promising the largest tree possible, right? We're talking bag of burlap or container trees here. We're not spading anything, but I've been forthright in that we've had success in planting more substantial trees than the sapling at Home Depot,
You said we weren't spading any?
No, we're
Why
not.
not?
No, it's just a cost thing. So, a quantity thing, and that can certainly, I would say the industry standard in tree replacement is a bag or burlap or a container tree. The largest that I have experience in is a 3-inch caliper. So depending on the species, you're in excess of 10 feet with that tree for sure. Just again, depends on the species. So the challenge with the trees that you're referencing on the south side of 3rd Street, with the exception of the one on the very corner, that one I feel very confident about saving. It's far enough from the project. I'm okay with being confident in that protection and that, saving. The other two are in the right of way and they're close to the work area. There's a sanitary service directly underneath the tree that we're accommodating to connect to and try to
Yeah,
protect
I
the
see that.
tree. But those are we're committing to do the best we can.
Okay. Then the other question I got is, I drove by Ash tonight by the school, and if I'm remembering things right, we are widening the street from what it is right now, correct?
Yeah, yep.
Is that
100%.
going to take out the grass that's on between the street and the parking lot?
It's going to reduce the grass. Yep.
And how about, I think there was power poles in there, right?
Those will be relocated.
Why can't we keep it to 36 feet and not have to do any of that stuff?
I don't think it's a matter of can or can't. It can, but in conversations and recognition of how that road is being used today, we've coordinated with the school and we understand that at times there is a use of 2 through lanes and 2 parking lanes. And so consistency in how you identify that space. We have a adjacent paralleling north-south road that's at a 40-foot corridor. And we have an Ash Street that's a 37.5. That's a awkward dimension for a roadway. And we have an opportunity to kind of design this for the future, recognize the use and that feedback from the school. In conversation with city staff, we felt like consistency on those 2 roadways was advisable and something that we have right of way sufficient to obtain. And so that's what's being presented for this project improvement.
That's standard where you got the number, the 40, that's
I think
the
40
8, parking, and then 12,
Correct. You can without exception, you can design a road and build a road less than that. A 12 and an 8 is a pretty tried and true standard corridor. I think it provides good function in the use of that space. So you can go to a narrow parking lane, but if you have a larger vehicle parked within there, or maybe you have a little snow along the curb, that's going to reduce that driving lane, that feel of the roadway. So I think your 12 and your 8 is a resilient design to provide that consistent for uses of that roadway. But yeah, you could go narrower. It's obviously being used in that regard today at the 37.5, but I think we've received some feedback, but it feels tight and there's some challenges with that. So the 12 and 8 I have experience with, and I feel comfortable based on what we understand the road is intending to serve. I feel like that's a good section to accomplish that.
I'm going to push a little pushback there because going down the street, it's 37.4 past 4th Street. So when we fix that street, is that going to make that have to be 40 feet too?
There'll have to be a conversation at that time.
If we left this one at 37.4 now, we wouldn't have to have that conversation in the future. And I've talked to a few bus drivers, and they says they don't believe widening it will help any. So
we've had tons of conversations with the school and the administrators, and they believe that the way that it's set up right now and the
but you're talking to administrators, not people that drive and do the work. That's my point.
Well, the transportation director who is in charge of the busing and all of this stuff is also well on board with this conversation. We've created the safest space possible for the next for the intention of the next space.
Are we going to make a decision on whether that street's going to be a one-way all day long or just during school hours?
The way it's set up right now is that the east side of the street will be no parking from 8 in the morning until 7:30 in the morning until 4:30.
See, and that's where I think it should be no parking all the time, so nobody has any questions about what it is. Is it 3 o'clock? Oh, I don't know. Is it 4 o'clock? I don't know. If it's one way all the time, we don't have to worry about that.
The school wanted that parking to be available for sporting events and things like that, so that they had overflow parking for when they had large sporting events.
And then you're going to have residents that can't have people come park when there's no school.
Right. Middle of July.
Gotcha.
Yeah, middle of July.
By doing the 7:30 to 4:30 or whatever, that basically eliminates that from a parking spot their whole school day. And
I see your point.
Yeah, give that.
And I don't think anyone that spent any time on that road at 3:30 in the afternoon would argue that it's not tight the way it is as it's currently constituted.
There's people trying to turn around to come back.
There's all sorts of things.
There's all different types of.
Following the same.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There's some, bus maneuvering and stuff that makes that really challenging, right? And then we've got a preschool drop-off parent situation where they're going north and kids are trying to cross the road. And so I think we've been pretty thoughtful in it, looking at improving the crossings, looking at bus staging. We've modeled what some bus distancing is. We're lengthening that section of walk to accommodate 4 buses so they can be stacked all on the south side of that crossing. And there has been a lot of discussion about the one way. And if I may, I think that is a little bit of a credit to the existing condition and the lack thereof. There's a sufficient space. And so my argument would be is if we're mindful with how we're designating the space, a one way then doesn't become a reality or a necessity because we have sufficient 2 lanes of travel plus the outside space. So just kind of how you process and navigate that discussion. But the one way is incredibly challenging, right? Just logistically of how you do that when you only have one connection on 4th Street. That makes that really challenging because you're not just committing to the one way on Ash, you're committing to the one way on Broadway too, and how that entire sequence of vehicles has to maneuver, or you're trying to turn around in an improper intersection. So a lot to consider, no question about it. But I feel like, I'm comfortable presenting to council tonight that there's been some thought and some rigor in the presentation of the final design for sure.
Back to the sidewalk situation, there was some talk that this would be uniform for any new project then, right? We wouldn't put in another road, redo another road without a sidewalk at least somewhere, right?
The hope going forward is that every road within the city of New Richland would have some sidewalk on it to keep pedestrian traffic safe off of the roadway so that, somebody has the ability to walk, whether that be somebody with a walker or somebody pushing a stroller or so they're not in the middle of a roadway. Mayor Ferguson brought up a good point this afternoon when I was having a conversation with her. It's a very good opportunity or a very good chance, especially with, MnDOT coming through and upgrading all of their stuff to ADA requirements. It's a very good chance that the feds or somebody's going to mandate the city of New Richland has to put an ADA sidewalk on every single street in the city sometime. So this is maybe the time when we have that ability to do that as part of the project, as opposed to doing it without a sidewalk. And then in 2 years, the state comes in and says, oh, by the way, remember that you didn't put that sidewalk in there? Well, now you got to put an ADA sidewalk back in there. And now, we're putting that sidewalk there. So, it's just something to think about.
You guys were talking about trees being an issue maybe. So if, say, the sidewalk gets put in everywhere, say tree roots come and they upheave the sidewalk, who pays for that then? Does the city or does the person that owns the property next to it? Because sometimes on Broadway, it sounds like business owners are going to be expected to pay for the trees that are uprooting sidewalk.
Yeah, the policy of the city is that whoever the homeowner or the business is the responsibility of the person. So.
And that's not just the city of New Richland, that's several cities. That's their policy. If you have tree roots and they come mark your sidewalk, you have to replace it. They'll come do it for you, but they will either ask you to pay it or assess it to your taxes at that
Is there
time.
any trees that are in the boulevard that aren't considered personal property for a resident in town now? Because I believe the ones in front of my house used to be that way.
Yeah, it would have to be right of way trees, and it would depend on the road. You'd have to look.
I don't think there is any there, right?
You have to look at the right of way map. Yeah, I don't know.
You say you have on that Ash Street, no parking on the east side, 7:30 to whatever, you can park in the evenings. Now, is that usually for school days, can be specified for school days, so on a weekend?
It'll be school days, yeah.
I think it's signed now. There's a sign that says this road is closed from 3 to 3:30 when school is in session.
It'll be signed for school days only, yeah.
I don't think it says close. It just says that you can't park there at this.
It says closed. It says closed. You're heading north.
You're heading north.
So northbound
That
lane.
makes sense.
Northbound lane is closed through 3:30 right now for the signage.
The city is putting all this effort into nice roads, and I totally agree. Cities need to maintain roads and stuff. Coming from a communication background, working in road right of ways and stuff, especially in towns, there's a lot of things that are in there. As a city approach, putting like multi-tenant conduits in for other service providers in future proofing some of this, so we're not having to tear up the road right of ways, not having to move more things from poles, because the height is a limit. You have to be 16 feet above the road surface for any overhead lines, and there's a bunch of those overhead lines that are not even meeting that today. So as the city taking a look at some of that, seeing how we're tearing this part of the city up, to try and make a uniform, like you were saying, like with the sidewalks, make it uniform throughout the city for other communication providers, be it whatever technology that they bring in later on down the path, so we're not digging all this back up.
Or do you ever see other cities do that
I can take a stab at that. I appreciate the comment and the forethought. I would say my more confident response is through this process, we are obligated to do a private utility coordination process where we reach out to those existing private utilities, let them know we have a project, let them know it's going to be disturbed. This is the most efficient and timely time for them to improve their infrastructure. That is often the case. Sometimes it's voluntary, sometimes it's mandated. In the case of like the overhead poles, those have to be relocated. They're there by permit in the right of way, so that is something that they are obligated to be supportive and a partner on. Replacing that old infrastructure. I do believe we've got an inquiry about a future fiber build as part of this project that has intention to be okay, perfect. So on kind of responsive in inquiry about what that process will look like, continued coordination and support and how that timing goes. That's my more confident answer. When it comes to city-owned infrastructure for future communication, I don't have a lot of experience in it. That's certainly not my expertise. I think at times it's a barrier of cost initially. There's always a build cost to these things. And then how does the city manage and recoup that in the best interest of the public going forward? If you have a duct bank that's empty, who has the rights to it? Who has the long-term maintenance responsibilities? Those are all kind of complications that I've just seen a city have a hard time having consistency in the delivery of that. So hopefully that answers your question. That's more my opinion, my experience. But my former answer in regards to the utility process, that I can speak to, and we followed that for this project.
The only reason why I ask is because there's what's called futures proof conduit out there that can handle 7 new service providers in one conduit. And I think for a city that is expanding or wants to expand or wants to improve utilities, put them underground, out of sight, out of mind is a good idea. And if you have the capability to do so, I think now is the time to do it when you're tearing everything up versus coming back and tearing everything back up again because, we got service provider A now that wants to come in and we've got, the road right of way is full on the right side and it's not on the left side. So now you're tearing up one side to get over to the other. It just something to think about. I can get the city more information concerning other cities who have done this and how that they manage that. But I kind of wanted to start the conversation to just see if now is a good time to set something in motion for something consistently through the city.
Anybody have other questions about the project? You have
I
any
don't.
questions?
I would like to put aside some money to get bigger trees for those guys that they pulled their trees down. That's one thing I think should be done. Spade them in, not just put those tiny little ones. Because in 10 years, they ain't going to be even close to what their trees are now. I don't have any more questions.
Need a motion, right? I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 25-07.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Nays? Okay.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks, Corey.
Right.
Okay. Public hearing, rezoning of 110 Ash Avenue North from R1 to C1.
All right, Mayor and Council, before you have a zoning permit application for 110 North Ash. As you were presented before, this is a former church requesting a turn into an event center. The request was to rezone from R1 to C1, which allowed them to operate as that. Planning and zoning did take it under advisement. They did publish a report and did agree that the zoning was okay. The notice was published for the public hearing and sent to area businesses and residences that were surrounding the business. Tonight is the time to open the public hearing for anybody who wishes to be heard on the change from R1 to C1.
All right. 7:09, open the public hearing.
I got a question. So if it gets rezoned to, rezone, will it affect residential property taxes or property value because of the rezoning?
No, it should not.
It shouldn't affect anything for residential whatsoever.
Should not, no.
Say that again. Why not? If it's going from commercial to residential, shouldn't it
You're
reflect?
talking your property tax.
Your-
No, it should
Oh,
not affect.
okay.
Theirs it would, but not hers.
Just their property, correct?
I would ask a couple times, and if no,
Anybody else? Yeah,
nobody wants to be heard, you probably can close it because everybody should have been here by now.
okay. Anybody else want to speak about the public open hearing? If not, we're gonna close it here then at 7:10. All right,
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 25-08.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Aye. Ordinances and resolutions, resolution 25-09.
Okay, so
Uh,
the next three resolutions that you have in front of her, the HRA is the housing commissioner. The city council is the one that appoints the members of the board for the housing authority. So these are the three requests for the appointment to the housing board for the HRA.
A motion to adopt resolution 2509. A resolution appointing an HRA commissioner.
You want to do them all?
Oh, okay.
Do them all.
All right.
And 10,
Make a
right?
motion for resolution 2509, 2510, 2511. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department report.
All right, Sarah's not here, let's report. Did not have much to report. We did meet with the new billing company and have gotten the majority of the information sent to them. They're building out all of the information on that. We're hoping to have most of that set up here in the next day or two to be able to start testing with the run reports and hopefully to have that live April 1st for the new billing stuff.
When do we plan to kind of disembark from the other company?
That'll be done the 31st of March. Our new company will take over April 1st.
Okay.
So it'll be just like one's done, the next one takes over.
All right.
So
All good.
it should be all perfect.
Make a motion that we approve the ambulance report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fire department report.
2 fire calls, 3 medical calls, 5 calls total. Training for the month, bloodborne pathogens and that.
I'll make a motion to accept the fire department report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Police department.
This evening, we had 102 calls for service for the month of February, totaling our calls for 2025 at 228. Last year at this time was 517. Officer Durrott attended DMT training. That's the fancy computer at the jail after somebody gets a DWI. And he passed his certification. I attended the Clio and Command Academy up at Camp Ripley for a week. Super fun staying in their little dorm rooms. It's like Hot Wheels. But learned a lot. Yeah, got a lot of good leadership type training. I am requesting to attend MAWP in Rochester. That's not in Rochester. That was supposed to be Welch.
What's MAWP?
Minnesota Association of Women Police. So they do all female-based presenters and speakers and things. The estimated cost is $375. However, if I believe myself and 2 others, if it gets approved, will be attending, and I believe it's a $50 discount if all 3 of us registered together, and then we would all 3 of us would share a hotel room. So whatever that split would be. We interviewed a potential part-time candidate earlier last week, asking for approval to begin that backgrounding process. That would take the place of Officer Madden, who left at the end of January. Recent purchases: uniforms, shirts, pants, and 2 evidence equipment bags because they were on sale. The South Central Drug Investigation Unit payment, that is $3,750, which was already in our 2025 budget. And then our Lexipol annual payment, which is where we house all of our policies and procedures. And that's for $3,379.32. Lastly, the sheriff's office asked me if I would like a storage drawer, which I'm more than happy to show you the difference between a squad with a storage drawer and a squad without the storage drawer. They originally quoted me $1,100 for it. And they officially offered it to me for $300. So, that's where we're at.
Is that training part of the budget? Training budget?
It's under 500, so it probably doesn't need to be approved. The drug task force payment and Lexipol is part of the budget, but it's over 2,000, so I probably should approve those items.
I'll make a motion to approve the South Central Drug Investigation payment and the Lexipol payment.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. You need approval for your backgrounding progress too, right?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion. We make approval for the new candidate.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then, do you want to talk about your tablet too, or the ESF funds? Or do you
Oh, I
wait-
forgot.
Or do you want to wait on that?
I'll wait on that until CIS gets back to me.
What the storage drawer? What is that?
It's a big metal storage drawer that folds into the trunk of the squad.
Okay.
So then, and it's lifted so it comes up over the bumper. So you can pull it all the way out. You can store stuff on top. That way, when we're driving, you're not having things flying all over the place. I can show you after the meeting.
I was just curious what you put in the box.
Gloves, medical supplies, fire extinguisher. We can put our AED in there, our PVT machine, blankets, stuffed animals for kids.
How about a body?
Don't think you can fit a body.
You must have tried.
I'm speculating that you probably can't put a body.
I received word today that the bus drivers were informed from the school administration that they would be ticketed if they continued to park diagonally, and that communication came from the police department.
I can. Would you like me to read you the email?
Sure.
So this has been kind of an ongoing thing that we've been dealing with. Did I put that? Oh, there it is. And we've been getting several complaints about the concern for people having to do U-turns and additional unnecessary traffic of people driving through the parking lot to get to the preschool drop-off. So the email I sent them, I stated, I've been receiving, and I sent this to both the principal and the superintendent. I said, I've been receiving several complaints over the last few weeks regarding how the school buses are parking during pickup and drop off. It's causing congestion at Ash and Highway 30, unnecessary traffic through the parking lot as vehicles are having to use the parking lot as a way to get preschool drop off pickup and causing vehicles to make U-turns. I'm aware this was discussed at the building and grounds meeting you had with other city officials. I believe Administrator Martins mentioned the statute that prohibits any vehicles, including school buses, from impeding flow of traffic. I've attached the statute here for review. I will leave it to your discretion if you would like to handle it internally. If not, and the drivers continue to impede traffic, they risk being cited for violating the above statute. Please let me know if you have any questions and what your decision is. Administrator Martins and I also discussed with our city attorney, only because we wanted to make sure that we weren't overstepping any bounds or anything like that. And I spoke to the principal on the phone later in the day, and he said it's not exactly fair that the bus drivers are, I wouldn't say getting away with breaking state statute, but essentially that's what they're doing by state statute. Our city attorney said that it seems that the email, because we sent him the email, and he said it seems that the action or the email is fully appropriate and completely warranted, as we gave him the background of what we discussed. So
it's been different than the last 10 years.
I've been getting complaints from parents.
So complaints
school
by,
kids
complaints by what? They calling you
calling,
because they can't park in the parking lot and walk across the road? What's the complaint on?
that the safety concern of the buses parked.
That is the safety point of it, is to park them at an angle so kids don't run between the buses and get hit by oncoming traffic.
So shortly after I got the email, I also, the transportation director, Dan Schmidt, came in, and he and I had a very good conversation about it. And he said that he was on board with the decision to.
It's different than what I got.
Yeah, he said he's on board with it, and that he would be observing and.
The parking lot is considerably bigger now, so I'm confused as to why that drop-off spot even needs to be necessarily down there. We have lots of assigned pedestrian crossing right now. Why can't parents park there? It's still keep the buses parking diagonally like they have been for the last 10 years, which has proven successful, as there hasn't been any issues down there until the preschool drop-off has been down there, and I'm not sure why it needs to be down there. Other than just pure convenience.
Say school drop off like at the main door, like have somebody be at the main spot so everybody can still just come.
That would be a discussion for.
That's for the school. That's a school thing.
Yeah.
We can't supersede state or guides.
Really good.
So mostly a problem with the preschool kids with the pickups?
It's with
Or with all the
everybody. Parents dropping off. In the last month or two, I've seen almost 3 or 4 collisions in the parking lot and on the street because people are having to do U-turns, or they're backing up because they can't make the U-turn, or they're going into the parking lot. And
So are they going into the parking lot to park though, or are they going into the parking lot to turn
they're
around?
using the parking lot as essentially a through street.
They could theoretically just use it as a parking lot and walk across the street.
Yeah, couldn't it?
They could.
That's one point too.
And I understand,
But
state
the
laws.
state
law, I
statute.
get that.
Statute.
But if did you send that? Did you get a second?
We got somebody back there.
Observational comment about this. I do know that the state statute is halted when you have an officially closed road. And that was where the city could make ordinance. You'd have to barricade it, but it could be a closed off roadway from traffic. And then the buses would not be considered violation of that. because closed roads are not subject to all traffic laws.
Then you're barricading the road for residents as well to get in there.
As of right now, from 3 to 3:30, it's closed on northbound lane
If
as it
there's
stands.
now, but there's no.
So it's just sign.
It's just signs.
This way.
There's
Not like putting signs.
It's my word.
My parents never dropped me off.
It's changed, Jody.
No, I have one
Well, I
other,
understand.
I have one other question on that. There's signs on that side of the road that say no parking for, it's 2 hours or less from 8 to 4 p.m.
Mhm.
Well, I got some messages on that today by a couple different bus drivers that there was people there parked at 7:45 this morning and their vehicles are still parked there at noon. Has that been looked at?
Not when I can only speculate how long somebody's been parked there, unless I go ask them how long they've been parked there. I can certainly.
My biggest thing is it's just gonna be, it's gonna be such a big change right now. I understand if we wanted to go that route at the end of the school year, when we get this project going and completed, that everybody knows, because right now you're gonna have people beelining to the north. They're gonna come up around 4th and they're gonna head straight to the end of the school, and kids are gonna be getting off the bus and they're so used to having them at an angle, they're gonna run across the road and someone's gonna get hit. You know, it's just one of those things. We're gonna need some presence there from police at the beginning to watch it, you know, until people get familiar with it.
Which is fine.
You know, it's just, I just think it's.
It's also gonna have to be partly the school as well,
Yeah,
helping out with
well,
that too,
absolutely, it's a
because
partnership.
it can't just be be that. I mean, when we went to school, they parked along the side of the
They did.
shoulder. There was no diagonal parking.
We didn't change it in March of the school year either, after we've been doing it the one way the entire year. And you got 5-year-olds that are pretty routine based. And we're asking them to change it now.
And that would be where she had suggested the internal side of it, of them to handle it, to maybe have staff redirect and teach kids to go a different route.
Sure.
Is what might have to happen. And it's gonna take some time to do that, but
Yep.
So can the buses park straight and they can have their lights on, or is that still blocking?
They can all park parallel to the curb.
But if
I don't think they have
red
it.
lights on, then they can't go.
Then you can't go around.
So it is that.
you mean putting the stop sign out? Like red light?
Right, we're worried about it's crossing, right?
That's
Is that then-
So I discussed with Mr. Schmidt, I discussed having, and he agreed with me, having the buses, he told me it wouldn't be an issue, having the buses park bumper to bumper or close enough so the kids can't
Yeah.
run through. If they're going on their bus, there should be no reason for any of them. If the school is wanting to use the crosswalks the way the crosswalks are supposed to be used, then it wouldn't. I should retract that.
I know what you're saying.
The kids should be using the crosswalk to cross anyway. Then they wouldn't impede. They wouldn't be running through the school buses anyway. So if they park bumper to bumper, the kids aren't going to be able to run through there. And from my understanding, all the preschool younger kids that get on the buses are led out by teachers anyway. So that's my understanding.
Critical that they come apart bumper to bumper, because my hometown, that school, we had a kindergartner get killed because the buses weren't bumper to bumper. And little kindergartner stuck through it. Boom.
Yep. And
It's
Yeah,
critical.
the school's gonna have to change. They're gonna have to probably have someone out there then watching. You know, I know they have paras out there and stuff like that too. And then I had one final question. During this last snowfall, we put on the city website 2 inches of snow. Plow driver Hendrickson and the county comes through. I got up last Wednesday morning at 7 in the morning, drove around,
there's a lot of cars that were buried. How many, people, we have any citations out for that?
I believe letters were sent, usually on the first big snowfall, we give a grace letter. And I believe 7 letters were sent.
I just don't wanna make it our problem in the end if a car gets hit or, you know, or whatever, you know, I just wanna make sure that it's like telling your kid, don't do that. You gotta move, you can't do that again, we can't just keep telling people they can't do it.
Signs that say you can't.
It's
an ordinance.
city ordinance, it goes out to all the people on the newsletter at the beginning of winter.
Do they actually agree?
Yeah, that's their own.
That's their own.
Yeah, and their water bill.
Water bill is on one side.
I just wanna make sure that we don't end up having the county hit a vehicle on Main Street or, you know, or whatever,
Right.
cause then it's their, but, you know. So, but that's all I had, I was just, I mean, I was just curious if we did anything. But if it was me plowing the road, they'd have a lot of snow around their vehicle. I'm good.
Like a motion to accept the police department report.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Sorry.
Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. Care Center report.
Okay, Bob's at training, so he provided a report. What you have is the February report with January financials is basically what you got. I'm not gonna read it for you. Looks like income loss of 10,000 for January. State,
At the meeting that was expected just based
Okay.
on the loss of the college and high school students that
Okay.
helped out.
Sure.
yeah, so they're gonna be
So that was agency spend.
increase in use of agency staff and then also our reimbursement from the state are gonna go down. So
That's right.
yeah, that's pretty much it from Bob.
Make a motion to accept the Care Center report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Hi, guys.
hi.
All right. I did write a note for everyone to pass the word to please be mindful of what goes in the sewer. I can't take any more fish tank rock. I'm plumb full of fish tank rock. No more. No more marbles, no more toys, socks, towels, blue shop towels, cigarette butts, tons of cigarette butts. Fats, oils, grease, no baggies, food leftovers. It's getting pretty thick out there. And
Pretty
I
colorful.
keep this out by hand. So I crawl down into this 4-foot pit that's 15 foot long, and I have to get all of that out by hand. And it is a lot of work, and the hoist does not work out there. So I carry all the buckets 2 floors up.
Have you gotten estimates for that yet?
That nobody will touch it because it's so old. So, yeah, the grit is out of control. So rocks, you name it, it comes through. So yeah, it's just one of those awful things. So we just need to be mindful. The grease layer in the lift station, I'm looking for a biodegradable degreaser that I can use. Out there, I can't just use anything. That's special. If not, that lift station out there at the plant will have to be cleaned every year. The grease I just had it done last summer, and the grease is about that thick. And it will hang off all the float chains and the chains. Tony's helped me with the floats. I had Braden last month. It's 27 feet deep. So it's 12 by 14 by 27 feet. So you're hanging over it, pulling chains with grease. I mean, just grease.
No safety grades yet, but they're coming. So otherwise, yeah, if somebody slips, they're not gonna make it. So yeah, you just won't. So a lot of work needs to be done on that, and it will make our water a lot better, our wastewater going out to the creek. We don't want all that stuff going out there. It's bad enough what goes through storms, so we don't want our sewer water like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe in the summer when Empire comes back to do our next set, they could clean that lift station again like they did last year to get the
At the
grease
plant?
out.
At the plan?
Mhm.
Can you get an estimate from them what it would cost to do that again?
I can. I mean, while they're here, it'd be worth it. And they put the water straight back in, so there's 6 feet of wastewater in there. So they'll clean it and then the water goes right back in. Yeah, it's got some issues. I mean, it's just hard on the pumps, you know, with all that grease. I mean, those pumps are just struggling. And they're big pumps. I mean, they pull a lot of water, but when you get grease and
Are we talking like cooking grease? Or are we talking all types of
kind of grease,
grease that
you
can?
know, everybody's,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, your soap scums, your fats, your oils, it just happens, you know, it's just, you do your dishes and you have grease. I mean, I have seen some chunks of like, you know, like when somebody has a bit of like beef, you know, like when you cook hamburger and you'll have that layer on the top. So I mean, I don't know how they get it down their sink, and some of it during the winter will just sit in there, and then with the cold weather, it just makes like a frozen green
Solidified.
iceberg in there. So, and then I get it. So, but yeah, I am looking for a good degreaser, and yeah, we just need to be mindful of what goes in there. It's harder for me to take care of it to get it to go to the creek. If I don't pass, then the city doesn't pass. So I have to make sure and we're doing really, really good right now. So, and spring is coming. First of the thunderstorms might be on Friday, I hear. So, yeah, any signs of flooding anywhere, basements, make sure your night valves are shut. All of that good stuff. The pumps are ready to go. So I'm sure there's our two, so got them all ready. And it would be nice if we do have to do pump again. That intersection is very dangerous for all the cars, the rubberneckers, the semis, everybody takes 30. But it is dangerous down there. So the more people that can be aware and maybe barricades further down the road instead of them coming over the tracks, and then here I am right there. Stop what? It happened. Everyone needs to be ready. But otherwise, I'll let you know when it happens on Friday. And the parts for the clarifier are ordered tomorrow. So, okay. Any questions?
No.
I'll make a motion, we accept the.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, maintenance report, Eric.
Everyone.
Hi.
Good.
We had 11 blue cards this month. Went to Ferguson Waterworks in Blaine for meeting for my continuing ed. Also went to St. Cloud for a day. Had to come back because of the storm. Been doing a lot of meetings with school. Corey. We started sweeping the streets. We did go through the town one time so far, but after that snow, we're gonna have to go through again, obviously. So,
probably flush hydrants next month. And we're gonna start, I forgot to tell you this morning, Tony. We're gonna start freshening up the Legion Field, bathrooms. Get Legion Field ready to go. Haven't heard anything yet on the window for the crow's nest. Questions?
You want to talk about controls today?
No, the fun stuff. Yeah, we got 2 bids, on there. One is a lot cheaper than the other. And did they all get the book for,
What?
did they all get the book from, LeBlanc?
They was all included in the pack. Well,
It was in the book, they got it.
you mean his information?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all
He did a pretty good job at telling what all needs to be
yeah,
done. Okay.
that's all in there.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you did.
This is just the 2 quotes.
that one's, pretty badly needed. The controls are obsolete. We've had quite a few people come and look at them. Bolton and Mink is one of them. You, Corey, was your
John Groutman.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking I would go with, LeBlanc on that one. Just because of the price range.
And then I would recommend taking Thompson a little bit on the electric.
Absolutely.
And that would upgrade all of the controls on the water plant for all of the pumps, all of the floats, all the VFDs. Everything would be new cabinet, new boxes, new alarm system, basically all new. And then eventually the plan, I think that Eric and I have, is to move the ag hydrant up there as well. So that gets off of a city hydrant that actually comes off of well 1. It's all, there at the
And that price is actually in there also.
Yeah, that's not part of this quote. That's an alternate quote. It is quoted in there, but then basically, they would drive in from that side and then come on the south side of the water plant and fill up off the south side of the water plant.
Be able to fill tankers quicker with this one. And it's kind of, our well 1 kind of took, say this right,
well, it's well 1's in kind of a spot where we either need to use it for something like that, or we need to really think about closing the well down, and the cost to close the well down is not something the city wants to take advantage of. So this is the perfect opportunity to do something like that. So
How old's the current system?
well,
The control.
probably original.
Is it?
Yeah, it's got to be original.
Where's this all located?
Inside the water
In the
plant.
water plant.
Right over here.
Yeah.
Piecemeal together too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, as things have broken, they've been just kind of whatever's been not been able to be replaced with whatever was there has been whatever could work in the situation that has worked.
Which should last long enough for my lifetime.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And this would come out of the capital for water.
I'd make a motion for option 1, which is LeBlanc Consulting and Thompson Electric.
For a total of 684, 682.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
next one I got on there is, Waldorf Welding came in and they, he's gonna put a new ladder in there. I'm not 100% sure how it's gonna, I didn't get a graph of how he was doing it. But the steps in there are pretty bad in the crow's nest. This price is kind of high, but I don't know how else to do it.
Which way are
Tony
you
and I
talking about going?
What's that?
Which way is he talking about going?
It'd go to the east. So the door comes around it and it'd be hiding behind the door.
Door opens like that, or door open like this?
Yeah. That's what it'll be. No.
That expensive, huh?
What's that?
That expensive, huh?
That's what I'm saying. Tony looked, but there's really isn't a good setup for it in there. Because the reason is because up above where the crow's nest is, it's too tight to the door. It's a problem. But then he mentioned a couple other things. I mean, there's this what else is the other? Toe kick. He said that thing really should have a toe kick also. I don't know. That's a safety, I suppose. So that one, you want to think of that, and we relook into that on.
We've got I mean, we have repairs and maintenance funds and baseball funds available, budgeted for that type of thing. So I mean, the money's there to do it, and it does need to be done. It's unsafe right now. So it needs to be taken care of.
It's still the same as when I used to crawl up it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It's not safe.
Dolmeyer said that's gonna die going up it.
So I would recommend to the council that they approve that, and we can, I mean, even if you want to approve up to 2,500, and we can work with Waldorf Welding to try to figure out exactly how we want the look. But it's unsafe and there needs to be.
I'll make a motion to approve the Waldorf welding bid for Crow's Nest improvement.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last one is Dallas Logan. I got the bid in on that. It's $26 a ton. Last year's $25 a ton. He's got a 18 yard, so it's be right around, or it would be $468 per load.
And where is this going?
We just have to have it for whatever the alleys / we have a book break, use the gravel for that.
Is that something we're gonna need for that back alley as well?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
And where do you have them dump it right now?
We have 3 bays right next to our shop on the north side.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Are you looking at getting 1, 2 trucks now? What's the thought process?
Usually I end up with 2 or 3.
That's what? How much a load? 460.
Make a motion, we approve up to 3 truckloads at 468 per load.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
I got one more thing. So in regards to the lead and copper stuff, we need 1 more year of ESRI, which is the GPS or GIS component that we've been using for the lead and copper stuff. Corey's been helping us out with that. According to Corey, the second year that is not eligible under the current grant, so we do have to pay for that out of the city funds. So he did say we do need it for another year though to finish the lead and copper program. So it is $1,035. So I would like approval to purchase a 1-year extension on the ESRI for $1,035.
Make a motion to approve the 1,035 to ESRI.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to approve the maintenance and streets report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Unfinished business?
This is the final contract with Thompson based on the 5-year. I talked with Thompson's and they just wanted the only request was the agreement ended on December 31st. Instead of going through the 15th of March, I didn't think that the council would have any concern with that. So I did make that change to the agreement pending your approval. So that's the,
I've had a lot of people ask about a second bin. Sure. You got called on second bins.
no, after most people saw how big the one was, they have said they don't need a second.
Yeah.
So
is that an option for anyone that
I think it will be. Just give us a week or so to get everybody the bins that they need and stuff, and then we can readdress that.
64 and 64 is still more than 96
Yeah,
for the same price.
Yeah.
If possible.
Most everybody should be taken care of with the larger bin, but I think if we do need another one, I think he's got some smaller of the 96s. So we probably won't get two huge ones, but the what's the smaller one? The 65, 64. We probably have some 64s we can get out. So.
Make a motion on that then?
Yeah,
we need to approve that.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the consolidated waste contract approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. New business, February 2025 check register. Yeah. What you got, Jason?
Yeah. On the first page, what's an ARM permit or an APM permit? For $35, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
That was for
30.
It's about 3/4 way down on the first page.
That was for the, I think that's for the, pellets that put out at the lake.
Oh yeah, so it's his permit to do the
Gotcha.
lake stuff.
Okay. I had two different ones where you had a cylinder rentals for air gas.
Yeah.
Why can't we purchase those? Wouldn't it be cheaper in the long run?
Who's gonna fill
They would.
We do well. We do. Yeah, I don't know what the difference is in who. I think the problem is that if we own them, then we are required to be testing them.
Yeah.
And then it costs the testing and
Yep.
stuff. And so I don't know what I mean, I probably could have Sarah look
I would say
into
let's look it up.
to see, but yeah.
Because that's why I bought mine, because it was cheaper than renting them. Then the last one, I might not know why I put it here. Minnesota Energy Resources on 226 for 2839. I had a question mark behind it, and I don't know why I had a question mark behind it. But what is that? On the second page.
Resources, it's
gas.
Okay.
It's probably two sets of bills.
And then I noticed we had a hazardous material fee twice.
Yeah, one for the wastewater treatment plants, one for the water treatment plant.
Okay.
That's our annual service fee for the hazardous materials reporting to the state.
That's all. Okay, that's all I have.
Midco, the 677, is that just internet or what is all that?
That's internet and phone and internet and phone for
how many buildings?
we do everything through Midco for us, except for the water plant is consolidated. Everything else, everything for here, the maintenance garage and the library is all Midco.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve February 2025 check register.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
February financials.
As I just told you in your email, I just wanted to just call attention that there are some new funds that you'll start seeing on your financials now. You will see a new fund you'll see a 425 fund, which will be the street construction fund now. So you will be seeing anything spent on engineering fees, legal fees, anything like that will show up in the street fund. And then also in as well as the utility water and the sewer fund, you will also now have the storm sewer fund showing up as part of the utility fund as well. So you'll start seeing that as part of
financials.
Is there no revenue under the fire department?
The only thing that would ever come under the fire department is our annual township charges, and that's about it.
Nothing for,
No.
Make a motion to accept that. I'll make a motion to accept the financials.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Municipal cannabis dispensary.
That was my request. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I would just like to see if we could ask Tony to do some research on, because we got Red Pine Group put a brochure forward to us to say they can take and manage a dispensary and just give us the funds from it, or do like Byron did or St. Joseph did. They built their own and managed it and all that. I would like to see if we can just get him to see if it'd be worth us to see if, I'm pretty sure building and reconstructing our own wouldn't be worth it money wise for the city of New Richland, but maybe having Red Pine come in and do what they need to do for us. But we have a March 13th, isn't it? Or is it March 14th?
Friday.
14th. End date to say if we want to get a dispensary license from the state of Minnesota, we can get a license, but we don't have to use it. You know, if we don't do it, we do. But if we don't get it, we can't do the dispensary. So I would just like to see if we could tell him to do some legwork, see if it's worth doing anything. Because I think, and I know that we wouldn't be anywhere near what Byron said, because they're close, they're 38 miles from are they 38? No, they're 8 miles from Rochester. And they said, based on their projection being conservative, that they could make $250,000 in a year, being close to Rochester and Highway 14. Being we're further away and we're not as big and we're near Mankato, Owatonna, Albert Lee. I looked at some of the projections people said, if we could get 12,000 in a year, we'd be lucky. But that's $12,000 of taxes that we would be getting if we didn't do it. That's just my thing to throw it out there and say, hey, should we look into it?
Just for information, I did receive an email from a place called Red Pine, who basically said that they would, the city of New Richland, if they so chose, could this. So basically, the statute allows the city of New Richland to claim the dispensary license up until the 14th of March, if they so choose. This Red Pine company, I'm gonna try to find the email here so I don't speak, but long story short, they would come in and basically either find a building in town, or they would build a business in town, and then they would take they would actually pay for all the renovations and buildings, and they would staff it, and the city would be the licensee, and then they would run it, and then basically they would give 25% of the profits to the city for the running the situation. I did reach out to the city manager in Byron, and I did talk to him about half an hour on Friday. The city of Byron is doing their own dispensary. They did like $120,000 plan to do everything and get it figured out. The league will not insure dispensaries, so they actually had to go out and get insurance from a private insurance company in order to insure it, because the league does not handle insurance at this time.
Does Red Pine do their insurance? Or
I
do we
don't
do?
know.
Okay.
They also the state bank of New Richland also would not handle the money. Like, there's only 4 banks in the state of Minnesota that handle, for lack of a better term, drug money. So they had to go get contract with another bank to handle the funds for the muni. And then eventually what would happen is once they, on whatever schedule they would choose, then that bank would make a deposit to their general fund or whatever they decided to do so.
Did they tell you how much they spent on the research for that?
It was 125,000 or something.
I was
like
going
that
to say,
was
that's some
what
pretty comprehensive research they did.
So according to this, it says Red Pine Group would cover the costs and complete the application. The city would own the license and enter into a contractual agreement whereby they would operate the location and the city would use 25% of the profits towards your general or special funds you designate. So, but I talked to a few other cities and it's one of those things on the, it almost sounds too good to be true kind of things. And so I do caution the council about the actual benefit versus cost of.
Is that cost that they, or that price, the 25%, that over and above the 10% that you get back from state?
No, we would still get back the 10% from the tax. That would be, from what I read into what Red Pine would say, it would be whatever the 20% of the net profits of the facility would be. But like you said, I don't know what type of market or even ability to or what
for such a small town.
I don't even know if it would be the only thing is like you said, the city has until Friday to decide if they want to claim the license or not.
Is there any cost associated with just claiming the license and just not doing anything with it?
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive of that, but I do think that there probably would be some legal action against the city if the city chose to claim the license and then just held on to it without not doing anything. I think you probably would find some sort of group that would say, why did you get the license if you're not going to do anything? If you're just trying to you're trying to prevent an organization from, establishing a business in town.
I never thought of it that way.
And we have received a substantial amount of inquiries among properties in town from people looking to, potentially open some sort of stuff. So I think there is a chance we will have something in town. It's just a matter of where. So I guess before I would go to do a whole a lot of research, I guess I would be interested to see if there's more than just Mr. Casey who is interested in going down this road. And if there's not, I think it's a moot point for it and more work into it.
What's the ordinance on that far away from the school? City
1,000 feet from the school, 500 feet from any parks.
So the city hall has none, like this place has nothing to do with it?
No.
Like if you, we'll say the 909 building down there. So
Yeah.
you can't.
Well, it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
So if you're manufacturing, the only place you can go is in the industrial zone, which would be basically from CFS to the elevator is the only industrial zone we have in town. So if you're going to actually manufacture anything to do with cannabis, that is the only spot you can do it. But the other options for like to sell it, if you're not manufacturing it, then there's all kinds of other spots in town. There's a downtown commercial, there's highway commercial. I mean, there's all kinds of other spots that you can go to do it. But I have spoken to somebody interested in manufacturing, and they were looking at that 909 building, and I informed them that they can't unless they obviously were to petition the city to basically change the zoning on that to industrial. There's no way they'd be able to manufacture out of that location. So yeah.
Daycares, are they in effect with the 500?
500.
Yeah.
As well.
Licensed daycare.
Yeah.
Let's say we let someone else take the opportunity and we take their taxes at this time.
Okay. Well, with that, I do have a resolution for an update to the city fee schedule. And the only two things that are updated on there is we do have to have the fees for the 2 licenses and the max. You gave me a lot of stuff to put on here, Jason.
I know.
I have another one for Byron that's longer.
Mm-mm.
That Byron research thing was really interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, saw it too.
So basically, the most we can charge for an initial permit is $500. The most we can charge for a renewal permit is $1,000, and so that is what I set up for the 2 licenses for our city fee schedule. So that is what is in here for the 2 new permit types, and that is resolution 25-12.
I got a question. Why can't we flip flop those? Make it more expensive to
Because
get
that
it.
is what state statute says.
This conference will now be recorded.
They're selling the 2016 Chevy Impala.
All right, so Eric and I were talking the other day, and Eric's still here yet. I believe you said it was like less than 500 miles over the last 4 years on that city car.
7, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
wasn't.
It's costing us like $1,500 in insurance every year to insure that vehicle. It's not worth us keeping that vehicle. We could pay our employees 70 cents a mile for 2,140 miles to insure that vehicle. The police department uses the squad car to go to training if they're able to. The fire department uses the fire department or the fire vehicle to go to training if they're available. The only people that would use or we would pay mileage to would be like you guys if you went to training, or Eric would use the maintenance truck if he goes to training. Braden would use maintenance truck if he goes to training, or if Heather or I would go to training, you would have to pay us mileage. Those would be the only employees that we would ever probably have to pay mileage on. So I just think that at this time it makes the most sense to try to get whatever we can for this vehicle. Since it was purchased as a squad car, I would recommend that we put it on min bid, and then whatever proceeds we get to it, it goes back into the capital reserve for police. And then the nice part about that, it would open right now it's being kept at the water plant in the garage. So that would allow Eric then to take that emergency response trailer and move it to the water plant and make it a lot easier for staff to get to, as opposed to having to drive down to the wastewater treatment plant, get through all that and bring it up here. It would be very easily to access, as opposed to,
This already has the equipment taken off of it.
Yep, there's nothing in it. It's just everything
a
got
car.
pulled out of it. It's just the bucket seats from Chevy Impala. We would put it on, advertise it on MinBid, and then obviously we would pay whatever MinBid's fee is, and then they would write us a check. So
I make a motion, we put this up for auction.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Joint flood committee meeting with county board.
yeah, so we have some opportunities for some bonding information and a few other things that we need to discuss with the county in reference to how we're going to attack this, on whether the city needs to be driving this discussion or the county needs to be driving the discussion. And it was just decided that it would be best to have 2 council members and 2 county board members to kind of decide how we're going to drive this at first, just initially to have this conversation. So these are the proposed times. Obviously tomorrow is not going to work. And Wednesday they said, I don't know who sounded like, Doug wants to be part of the conversation. It sounded like he was kind of sort of planning to go to the basketball games. I don't think Wednesday's maybe out of the conversation too as well, but Thursday or Friday, if 2 of you would be willing to sit down with the county board members. I don't know who would want to be on that committee, or Jason, if you want to sit on that committee, or Jody, or one of you 2. I know you both work during the days, but
Fridays at 7 a.m.
after
After
7.
7. I mean, I could do it 7, 8, but
I could do Friday. Just so I don't forget it. Yeah, I'll be on that board for the meeting of them.
So you're saying March 12th or March 14th, that ain't open for the public?
Not at this time, no.
So when's the next one to talk about it?
I don't know. We haven't gotten to a point where we're doing anything with that yet. This is just to talk about bonding and stuff, to talk to the legislators and stuff like that, to try to figure out what to do with that package. We don't have any more information on that yet, so. So anybody besides Jason want to be part of that, or?
Anybody else able to go? Thursday, I'm
Wanna send me an
unavailable.
email
Friday,
sometime this
I
week,
have to
Tony?
find out from work yet if I can be off.
Because I don't work Fridays. That's why I'll work night.
Jody, are you available or no?
I'll let you know tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'm supposed to have, I skipped class to go to Mankato back in February, and this is my makeup day. I'll use this as leverage again.
Okay.
I'll let you know tomorrow morning.
Okay. So tentatively, we'll plan for Friday.
Yeah,
Like, what time do you want to tentatively plan for?
Early morning?
Yeah.
That worked for me. Early morning.
Like, you want to do like 7 or you want to do like 8?
Let's do it. Because where would it be?
Probably at the county
By the
board office.
DMV,
Oh, yeah.
right? By the DMV,
East Annex.
East Annex.
Yeah. Okay.
Would that work?
That'd work.
Okay. So you'll let me know then, Josh, tomorrow sometime.
If you're not able to go, let Tony. If Josh is not able to go, let me know, and I can see if I can get off for a little bit on
Okay.
Friday morning.
And then I can look for
Isn't that where they usually have their meetings?
Yeah.
East Annex,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I thought. I've been there a couple times.
And it sounds like it'll probably be Doug Christopherson and Dee Malter.
All right. Miscellaneous.
Well, let's back up a bit.
Oh.
If we go to that meeting, are they going to throw us out if we bring up Larry Muff's idea there?
No, well, you can bring it with, but we're not talking about the study or anything. It's more about there's some bonding stuff that has to be talked about where we're going to need to go and who's going to drive the process. It's more about who's driving the process. Is it coming from the city of New Richland or is it coming from the county, and how the
So that wouldn't
share is. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with maybe address
Just
talking about or giving them a copy of it.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Person out of the U of M, out of Mankato, is he able to be a part of that meeting also?
This is just for bonding stuff. We're not talking about mitigation strategies or like the actual project itself. It's just talking about who's driving the conversation, who's paying for it. Basically, is trying to figure out where.
I just feel like he's trying to be a super active part of it also.
The guy's name?
I can get it for you. I'm on the list to call. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that he maybe has some ideas, or he's also working on the same direction as far as financing, and maybe be in the loop might be helpful.
If you want to shoot it to me, I can forward it to Mike Johnson up there too.
Yeah. All right, so administrators report.
Obviously a bunch of street items. The school, city attorney, David Drown on the finances, utility meeting. We got the annual police aid form submitted, the annual fire aid form submitted. The tier 2 reports for the water treatment plant. Shell got the one for the wastewater treatment plant. The year-end state auditor report was filed. The Microsoft and Midco contracts have been reviewed. The kitchen grant items were finally taken care of. We had to have a certain amount to order them.
See that and behind that?
Yeah, it's probably just a error. Participated in the second workforce development session. That was a good session. Auditors were here last week all day on Tuesday, remote on Wednesday and Thursday. We're kind of finishing up some punch ticket items. I did get copy. You're not gonna believe this. I got a copy of the Care Center audit.
Oh, it's my ask.
Um,
How are
so,
those two tying in?
yeah. So I submitted that to Abdo. So we actually got theirs before ours was done, which is the
What?
first time in 3 years I think that was happened. So that is taken care of. There was a second grant opportunity for lead and copper for assistance with the unknown service lines. I submitted the second grant for that, so hopefully we'll know not too terribly long to know if we got that.
Do we have many unknown?
10, right, Corey? I think we have 10 unknowns that we'll have to take care of.
How do you find them out?
Golden and Menk helped us through we were lucky enough that when we did our upgrade project with our water meters, we put the new water meters in. They were actually smart enough to hand write down all of the types of pipes that are in people's houses.
Yeah, for sure.
And someone was smart enough to actually keep those documents as according to law. And so most of that information was actually kept for us. So there was very few that we had to go take care of. But Corey and his staff at Bolton and Mink have been very helpful with that process. And so that's where we're at. So yeah, we only have 10. I don't know how many you guys had in Waseca. It was probably way more than 10. But
We're still working on it.
yeah, so the next process is of those 10 that are identified. This next grant process is to help us fund figuring out what that is and hopefully trying to mitigate those.
So that grant would be helping the not landowner, but
I'm guessing,
resident?
Corey, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the grant is probably going to be a portion of help for the homeowner and for the city to help.
Yeah, this will just be resource to the city to hire consultant services to inspect those waters. So that's the most common. We either can work with the homeowner to provide proof of water service, or we're trying to gain entry to visually inspect it ourselves. It's the same phase 1 grant that's happening now as a phase 2. So it's just visual inspection at this time. It's expected that remaining unknowns, New Richlands, the minority in the case of likely going to be able to satisfy all the water service, inventory. A lot of communities are going to still have remaining unknowns, so additional phasing to do exploratory pot owners such is expected. But there's a whole other arena when it comes to actually having lead, how you can get resources to replace those. And there is some misconception going on right now that funding is only available through the city. And the city then can complete the work for the benefit of the property owner, but those dollar resources are not available to a direct property owner. They have to come through the city via a city project, again, for the benefit of the private service, but that is the channel that those resources are available through. A homeowner cannot get those on their own.
Based on what we're doing here, is that something we're going to do in the future?
I think it's something that once we have the inventory completed, we don't have any known lead, so we'll see if there is a lead identified, but then that would be something that the city would have to strategize towards, correct?
Yeah, and then there's 2 parts of that. So the city only owns the shutoff.
Yeah.
So the city would be obligated to replace if it's led to the shutoff, and then that's the owner responsible for that shutoff. Yeah, so we'll go there. And then it created the new debt service and budget codes for the street project. So you'll be seeing that information going forward. And employee recognition, Heather's birthday is today. So if you haven't wished her a happy birthday, Jennifer Lacey on the 13th, Denise on the 3rd of April, Jordan Allen up in the ambulance on the 8th of April. I'll be here 8 years on the 10th of April. Josh Babcock, 2 years on the ambulance on the 10th of April. Aaron and Brett Cully, 1 year each on the ambulance on the 11th of April. That's what I got for you.
I'll make a motion to accept the administrator's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor and council comments. Anybody have anything?
Motion adjourned. I'll second.
All in favor?